want you to hit me as hard as you can.
Lance Velchuk here for Arrow on the Head's The F***ing Black Sheep, where we take a look at the opposing opinion of the genre's most divisive films. With the current times being, at best, divisive, it's somewhat tranquil to think of a time when you could satirize such political and social issues without it turning into a full-blown controversy. Paul Vehoeven was a master at this, and it's crazy to think that films like Starship Troopers and Robocop, whose take on the military-industrial complex, corporate greed, and America's love of violence are more relevant today than ever. With such classics, it's foolish and impossible to do a sequel that could keep up with the sharp commentary and the hard R violence that define them. But, do you know what film was able to pull this off and build upon the foundation set by the original? Robocop 2. This film was, and still is, heavily criticized as a weak and unworthy follow-up to the brilliant original. Robocop 2 suffers from the same symptoms that hindered one of my other favorite sequels, Psycho 2. Psycho and Robocop were both game changers in their respected genres and did a lot for their individual times. Lightning in a bottle, really. They both became classics, and rightfully so. But how do you make a sequel to a classic? Psycho 2 wasn't really given a chance, as it was seen as an obnoxious cash-in, and nothing more. Like Psycho 2, Robocop 2 had such a tall order to fill, it was doomed before it ever began. But not only does it do a great job of filling the shoes of its predecessor, it also acts as a great continuation of the story and world created in the first. Now you may say,
but isn't Robocop 3 the black sheep?
No, it's just a bad film. It's a train wreck that took our badass, take-no-prisoners robotic cop and gave him the exciting job of dealing with the injustice of illegally evicting poor housing tenants. The sly political satire from the others was replaced with awkward humor. We saw the over-the-top violence toned down to a more family-friendly affair. And they wasted the use of a robot samurai and a cool jetpack. How do you f*** up a jetpack? And so Robocop 3 has the proud honor of killing one of my favorite franchises. It's no black sheep. It's just an asshole.
You called for backup?
Robocop 2 takes place not long after the events of the first film. OCP has cut the pay and pensions of the police, leading to a massive strike. The dream of creating a new independent state by Omnicorp is nearly complete, as Detroit is nearing bankruptcy. We continue off the plot thread from the first. OCP is growing closer to owning Detroit, and though initially successful and popular, the Robocop program has done little to nothing in helping the decaying city's growing crime wave. We start off by having Murphy stalk his ex-wife, living through his own flashbacks. In the final shot of the original film, we got to see Murphy claim himself as more than just a machine, and having him pursue his lost love is fitting. We don't get as many moments as we should, and it's underused for sure, but it gives Weller more to do in the acting department, and is a nice reminder of his lost humanity. With Robocop introduced, we get into the new crime lord Kane.
Kane!
A cult-like leader who's responsible for the new drug
Nuke.
And he isn't above terrorism for those who stand in his way. He's sort of a mix between Charles Manson, Pablo Escobar, and Ted Kaczynski. Kane is played by the always amazing Tom Noonan. And Mr. Noonan knows his way around a good villain. The standout member of his twisted family is the adolescent Hob. I tend to agree with the masses that kids in movies are usually always terrible. Not here. In fact, Robocop 2 might have the best kids in film, period.
Can't shoot a kid, can you, fucker? Go fuck a refrigerator, peckerneck!
Hob is a perfect representation of the state Detroit is in. A 12-year-old boy is able to successfully take control over a large drug empire, and has the cold, calculated mindset to do so. But nobody's safe. Criminals are prey themselves in this new urban Wild West. The tone is absolutely perfect here. I'd even foolishly argue that this is the one thing that's superior to the first. Robocop at its heart can't be played razor straight. Satire and social commentary are at the core of its DNA, and both are alive and well here. It's still over the top and borderline ridiculous. The ozone layer is now gone from climate change, and the only salvation is an SPF 5000, which causes skin cancer with frequent use. We get the established Robocop charm, but with the drug epidemic and semi-post-apocalyptic setting, we get a real mean streak. The torturing of Duffy, to the actual murder of Robocop, which has a cool callback to his birth as they are both shot from his point of view. Once Robocop is put back together, the film has the best and most heavy-handed f*** you to the PC family values movement. Robocop's prime directives are saturated with focus group tested nonsense.
He's become a role model for our children.
He could speak out on environmental issues.
For all the shooting he does, I've never once seen him take the time to do anything nice.
It has him prioritizing the enforcement of smoking laws over armed robbery. He has to risk death again, just to reset back to normal. This balance of light and dark is its strength. They don't skip on the action either. By today's standards, it's quite quaint. No submarine car chases with ex-wrestlers, but it still holds up, just in a smaller way. We get Alex Murphy fighting an actual Robocop 2, with the brain of Kane.
Kane!
The fun twist in the first one was that Ed 209 was such an incompetent project for the sole purpose of corporate greed that it couldn't even handle stairs. Here we actually get the Battle of the Bots, and it holds up surprisingly well. We get a plethora of old school film techniques, miniatures, matte paintings, and with a better stop motion fights put to film. And let's not forget the epic blood squib shootouts. The action is spread out and it's balanced perfectly with the characters and story. They even almost kill this extra. No CGI here. I will concede that there are some accurate and honest criticisms that must be called out. The pacing is a bit choppy. It's almost episodic, which sort of makes sense as the story was outlined and originally written by Frank Miller. We even get a fade to black, which, in film, is pretty bizarre. And this definitely has a negative effect on the pacing. Some ideas do feel shortchanged. It's obvious that Kane wasn't used as much as he should have. Orion hated Noonan's performance and wardrobe so much that they forced him to reshoot most of his scenes, while cutting many others. With a newly released special edition Blu-ray of Robocop 2, I can only hope that this film finally gets a fair trial, without the baggage and hype that came before. It has its problems, like most sequels do, but it never got its second chance. 2008, I watched Iron Man, and noticed the similarities in the ending fight in Iron Man to that of Robocop 2. It was like kicking a man while he was down. Over time, I've grown from agitated to accepting, and even hope that maybe it was an homage, and that there are more people out there who appreciate and admire Part 2. I hope so. But if not, in the end,
We're only human.